Hello, I'm Lorenza Izzo, and this is the movie recap of Knock Knock. Spoilers alert, for those who haven't seen this movie yet. As the film opens, Evan and his wife Karen are caught doing some kinky things in bed by their kids, Jake and Lisa. It's Father's Day, so they surprise Evan with some cake and a clock they constructed. Evan scares them away by impersonating the monster guy, then returns to the bedroom to continue their eloping. Karen, however, is no longer in the mood. Karen's manager, Lewis, enters the house in the kitchen. Lewis will pick up some of Karen's creations later and sell them at auction. It is revealed that the children and Karen are going to the beach for a few days, and Evan will stay at home and finish his project. They pack everything into the car and say their goodbyes, then drove away. And Evan went to work with his good boy Monkey, destroying Rock City while working and jamming. There's a knock at the door. When he goes to open it, he meets two girls named Belle and Genesis. They ask Evan if he knows where the Gregorys live, but Evan doesn't know anyone in the neighborhood. They explain that they were on their way to a party and didn't have a working phone. He offers to let them in and lend them his tablet so they can message their Facebook friend for the correct address. He checks their sopping wet clothing inside, gets them robes, prepares some tea and seats them down to talk, simply trying to be a nice guy. He feels uneasy as they begin to become touchy and vulgar about their sexual lives. He calls them an Uber and waits impatiently for them to go. Evan is then left to play some music for Belle while Genesis goes to the bathroom. Belle pulls Evan in and they begin dancing while they exchange glances. He receives a notification that the Uber has arrived, as they almost kiss. He pulls away. Evan fetches their dry clothing as Belle goes to get Genesis. He goes to the bathroom to find them and informs them that the Uber has arrived, but all of a sudden, they're both taking a shower. When he sees both of them naked, he walks away and asks them to hurry up. They come onto him and Evan can't resist no more, and the Uber eventually leaves as they continue their misbehavior. Evan awakens in the morning, hoping that everything that has just occurred was a dream. Unfortunately, when he walks into the kitchen, everything is a mess and the girls chowing down on some food. He tries to persuade them to leave again, but instead receives a FaceTime call from Karen. The girls try to follow him as he go in the backyard. He returned to the house pissed off after the call and orders them to leave. They began tricking game and even running away from him. He still threatens to call the police, but they inform him that they are just 15 years old. He hangs up right away and disgusted. The girls turn down the money he offers, as a sudden knock at the door. When Evan opens the door, he met Vivian, his physical therapist. Genesis comes out as he is speaking to Vivian, clearly attempting to irritate him. Evan orders her to return inside, as Vivian leaves disgustedly. Evan returns inside furious after Vivian left. Without caring whether they are minors, he snaps and takes Genesis by the throat before picking up the phone to contact the police once more. Genesis agrees to finally go, so he hangs up the phone. Evan drives them to their house and goes back home to begin cleaning the house. By nighttime, he already gets the house in clean condition. He's about to start his work when he hears something in the living room. As he goes to look, he discovers a broken family photograph. Then suddenly, someone strikes him in the back of the head. Evan awakens as Belle entering the room dressed as his daughter and Genesis playing with his wife's makeup. Evan begins yelling furiously. His phone starts ringing suddenly. Despite his best efforts to hide it, the girls finally found it. When they realize Karen is FaceTiming Evan, they threaten to respond while abusing him. He told them he'll do anything and begs them not to answer the call, so they subject him to degrading treatment. Genesis began filming while Belle is on top of him. Evan just play along so he can pushes his way out of being tied up. He freed his one hand and strikes Belle, causing her to fall to the ground. He fled the room after releasing his tie. Genesis stabs him with a fork as he charges her, grabbing her by the neck. Evan blacks out because of pain. He awakens again being tied, this time to a chair. He observes Genesis dressed in his wife's clothes, his belt, and his own clothes. They begin acting even more bizarrely and inform him that a game is about to begin. They start questioning him. They threaten to make him deaf if he provides an incorrect response by blasting a loud noise via the headphones he is wearing. He receives the reward of no loud noises if he responds correctly. They ask some really insensitive, rude and disrespectful questions. Evan refused to respond. There's a sudden knock on the door. Lewis returns. Genesis takes Evan's phone and texts Lewis to let him know that Evan's nieces will be opening the door. The two women open and welcomes Lewis inside. In order to get ready for the auction, he goes to find the sculpture Karen made. However, he discovers that it has been heavily defaced. He begins to scream at the girls and realizes they are not Evan's nieces. He began to use his inhaler as he becomes short of breath. He then hears Evan making a noise from the house and runs to get him. But without his knowledge, Genesis grabs his inhaler on the way. He begins to tie Evan up when Lewis hears the women smashing the artwork. For whatever reason, Evan flees back outside rather than continuing to untie Evan. He's out of breath once more when arrives and unable to locate his inhaler. The women throwing his inhaler back and forth as they play their game of monkey. Lewis tackle one of them, but he eventually trips and hits his head on the sculpture as he falls dead. The women just start laughing while Evan panics. They accuse Evan of the killings as they wrap him and using Evan's phone, sent threatening text to Lewis. They start their game again after all that crap, as they announce that they would kill Evan at first light the following morning. Evan obviously doesn't like the idea, and yells at them saying he's a fantastic parent and made a mistake, but it doesn't mean he should be executed. His rant is ignored by the girls. They then wreck the entire house, even cutting off Evan's hair and begin digging his grave. As they're breaking things, they eventually found a gun, which they obviously use for their plan. Evan agrees to another game. He then flees to hide and found a kitchen knife. When the women have finished counting, they start looking for him. The girls hear Evan as he tries to sneak out the front door. He escapes, but trips and falls. A gun is pointed to his head as Genesis comes up to him. The following morning, Evan is completely wrapped and gagged by the women. They begin burying him after rolling him into his grave. Evan is in a panic and pleading to let him go. The girls reject his offer and begin counting down to his execution and grab a large gravestone to smash his head in. Evan begins to lose his mind. By the way, I think Keanu does an excellent job acting in this. He makes it seem very believable despite the fact Genesis crashes onto the tombstone close to Evan's head as the girls complete the countdown. They begin laughing. They promise Evan that they won't kill him. Then they take his phone and upload a video of Belle and him having a sexual encounter to his Facebook page, where it is visible to everyone. The women then bid farewell and fled. When Karen and the kids arrive a little while later, the house is in a terrible state, and his kid says, "Daddy had a party." Thank you for watching this recap. And please subscribe, like and click the notification bell to get updates on new uploads. And now, you can watch the next movie recap.